Welcome to the Leadership Guide, the show that takes you from peak performer to legendary leader by helping you unlock your heroic potential to emerge into who you are meant to be. This show is not your typical show on leadership. We have real, raw, unplanned, and unedited conversations with individuals from a wide variety of industries and expertise to get into the reality of what leadership actually looks like in the world. Not just theories that you read about in books. We leave the conversation unedited because leadership is not about perfection. And because this show is unplanned, you get unique insights and you get to see a side of these individuals that they don't share usually anywhere else. On today's episode, we have a conversation with Toni Kaufman, author of Act 2, Your Show Must Go On, and founder of KDDM Inc., who's actually one of our sponsors. And we discuss the chameleon effect that can literally allow you to dine with princes and dance with presidents, where you need to start, the first key that leads to success in entrepreneurship and leadership. And we take a look back at 2019 and look forward to 2020, a year of clarity. I'm your host, Cody Dakota, founder of the Leadership Guide, a member of the Forbes Coaches Council, and finalist for the Extraordinarian Award for Coaches with Ideas that can change people, businesses, and the world for the better for my ideas on leadership. We are sponsored by KDDM Inc., your one-stop shop for growing your business. If you're an entrepreneur, you'll want to meet my friend Toni Kaufman and her team at KDDM Inc. to help you clarify your message, get seen, get heard, and get sales. Because most entrepreneurs get stuck in the digital and social media world and don't know how to stop losing money and leads. KDDM Inc. is a world-class digital marketing agency that offers professional video production, amazing US-based virtual assistants, and brings the best tools and resources in the industry for entrepreneurs with their done for you and done with you solutions. Thanks to KDDM Inc., more entrepreneurs are reaching their heroic potential. If you would like to be a proud sponsor of the Leadership Guide show, please go to www.theleadership.guide and fill out the Contact Us form, and we'll get in contact with you shortly. And don't forget, stay tuned to the end of the episode to discover how to join the League of Legendary Leaders, an association of leaders with the goal to raise $100,000 monthly to support nonprofit causes which are currently looking to impact the world and make it better for future generations. Now, onto the show. Hey, Toni, how are you doing today?
Super cool, Cody. How about yourself?
Oh, I am living life and I am loving life. Things are good, Toni. I'm excited to be here with you today because you are absolutely wonderful and I always have so much fun with you.
Thanks, Cody. Well, I've been wishing people Happy New Year, and just the fact, I don't know if this is just my mom, but she used to say that the end of the year of the past year will always make sure that those who are not meant to hit the next year will be gone. And I've seen that. It's so weird. I saw it last year with so many of people's pets. I mean, for some reason, there must have been like 6 or 7 pets that didn't make it to 2020. And of course there's been 2 or 3 people, and I guess I'm seeing this now because I'm on the 65th year this year, so I'm gonna be, just the fact that I made it to 2020 is a blessing. So Happy New Year for everybody, and we made it to 2020. Let's make the best of it, right?
Absolutely. I think this not just this next year, but I think this next decade is going to bring across a whole bunch of really interesting and exciting things. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what's coming up here.
It's so true. And if you go back to the old sci-fi movies, it's so funny because most of them happened in 2020 or 2025,
Yeah. And you start looking and you're like, sheesh, the world doesn't look anything like that today.
Oh, Yeah, where's my flying cars? I'm still waiting for Blade Runner. Come on.
I'm waiting for the hoverboards from Back to the Future.
Boy, that's talking about a quick way to kill yourself. Yeah.
Hey, not all of us are looking to kill ourselves, just to get some scars and bruises, okay?
You know, I had a friend of mine who told me one time we were rooming at an event, because every time I go to these events, I always find roommates because I figure they're a blessing from God and I'm going to learn something from them. And I've had over the past 3 years some amazing roommates, and it's so funny. One of them said, look at me. This is my body. I'm over 60. I've got Franken booby here. I've got scars here. I've got scars here. I've got scars here. This one's when I played football in high school, on the grass, and you kind of sit there and do the captain scene out of Jaws, where you're comparing scars from one another, right? And what it really means is that we have lived. And if you have no scars, you haven't lived. You need to go out and get some scars.
I'm 100% in agreement with you. I've got quite a few scars myself. Actually, this past year, I just got another scar, which was actually pretty interesting. I went to do a Spartan trifecta this year, this past year, 2019. Which basically consists of 3 different races. You have a sprint, which is 3 miles, 20 obstacles. You have a super, which is 8 miles, 25 obstacles. And you have the beast is the third one, which is 13 miles and 30 plus obstacles. And it was during the beast where when I start to get on a hill, like a downhill, I don't have a stop. Like, I just do a full stride down the hill, and this hill was pretty rocky. And so at the bottom of the hill, there's basically a 90-degree turn. I went to make the turn, but I kept going down the hill. And I went crashing down, and I got this nice scar on my shin from it.
Oh, so, is this in Austin?
It's all over the world, actually, that they do these races. That race where I got the scar was actually in Dallas, actually right outside of Dallas. So, but yeah, and then this year, 2020, one of the things that I want to do is I want to earn another trifecta, but they've got a race that's called the Ultra Beast, which is not 13 miles, it's 26 miles and 60 plus obstacles. So
I want to be there at the finish line. You tell me where that is. We'll be there rooting you on.
Awesome.
Or carrying you up on a stretcher, one or the other.
One or the other, because no, I'm not going on a stretcher. I'm going to keep crawling. You can't stop me. But yeah, so basically it's a full marathon with 60 obstacles, and some of these obstacles are nuts, like carrying a 100-pound boulder, literally.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's going to be extremely intense. I've never pushed my body to that sort of limit before, so I'm really excited to get there. But yeah. So,
my goal, one of my goals for 2019 was to have a book, and to just have a book.
And you got the book too.
And we did that. We did the book, but it's so funny because at the end of 2019, I was actually in 3, and all 3 became international #1 Amazon bestsellers.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so 2 were collaborative works. Well, actually, 1 was a collaborative work, which was called Game Changers Volume 4. The second one was a complete surprise to me, and it's from my dear and wonderful friend, Dee Collins, who is an author and a poet and just an incredible Renaissance woman.
She's awesome.
Yeah, and so she says, Toni, you were a millionaire once. I said, yeah, a long time ago. And she said, well, tell me about the experience. So her and I were chatting one night. I didn't realize she was writing an entire chapter on me in her book, Muscle Memory Millionaire. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because my relationship with muscle memory is carrying 50-pound sacks of food for my steer before the livestock show my senior year in high school. So my muscle memory will always, I know what 50 pounds feels like. And you're talking about carrying a 100-pound rock. So I bow to you being able to do that. But now I will pack a suitcase and I will stand in front of it and I will pick it up with two hands and I can tell if it's over 50 or
Immediately.
not. I can tell. So, Cody, I can't believe you're going to be like carrying and racing with 100 pounds.
Well,
I mean,
now that's not the whole time, right?
well, no, I
That's a
get
very
it, but
small section of
okay.
what you have to do. That's
Wow.
like you have to carry that boulder like about 20 feet more or less. But like that's one of the 60 obstacles
Right.
along the 26-mile course, which
Now
is
you're wearing
basically a
belt
marathon.
and all of that to protect yourself, right? Because yeah.
No.
Oh,
I'm a glutton for
ah!
punishment, Toni. Come on.
Well,
I'm
okay, this
young and
is
I'm a
the old.
glutton for punishment.
This is the mom and grandma coming out on me. Okay, stop it. Don't you need to wear protection?
The clothes in my skin are protection enough.
You're insane. But
Maybe a
no,
little.
I have to bow. I mean, the beast sounded horrible and magnificent at the same time, and now that you got the ultimate or the ultra beast,
Yeah.
wow, this is, I need to look it up. So please, share with us via email or
Oh yeah.
your membership site when you're doing this. So we need to get some pictures of all this.
Oh, absolutely. And I've
Uh,
got pictures from the other races. They're awesome. I actually, after this, I'll send you a picture of me carrying the boulder in the last race that I did.
oh my goodness.
Because it's insane. It's one of those things where like you think about it and you're like, could I actually do that? And then you just put yourself in the moment and then you do it. And you're like, I guess I can do it.
Wow. You gotta admit, this is youth talking.
Well, okay, but this is the thing. With Spartan races, there are people of all ages who are do it.
Yeah.
Who do it. There was a guy at the last race that I did. Actually, pretty much every race I've been to, there's been at least one individual who's 80 plus years old doing these. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And
So,
I was I believe in Phoenix when I met, and I can't remember her name, and I apologize, but she is 89 years old, and she has climbed Mount Kilimanjaro twice.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and all done after she was 80.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's awesome. She's one of my heroes right now.
You know who I'm talking about, right?
No, I don't know who you're
Oh my God,
talking
I gotta
about,
get
but
her.
I
I
want to
gotta get her
know.
name. She's on one of my friends' shows. She just did an episode on a podcast, and we've all, we're all involved in so many podcasts now because we're in the world of it. And she's just an amazing woman, and she actually will she sells the opportunity to accompany her,
That's
and
awesome.
so you train with her to be able to do that. And I'm just in awe of her. It just oh, and she's a cancer survivor.
What a badass. That's
I've
awesome.
got to get your name. I apologize for not being prepared, but yeah, she's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. Okay. So Toni, you've mentioned that back in high school you used to work on the ranch carrying 50-pound sacks. And I know that you've got just this crazy long career of doing so many amazing things. And today you've got a book, you run a business, you're doing absolutely amazing things. How did you go from the ranch to where you are today?
Well, I was born in a little town called Mission, Texas.
Mission.
It's down in Mission,
Yep.
Texas. It's down in the Rio Grande Valley. And it's next to McAllen, so big city, little city. Yeah. When I was there, we had like 16 to 18,000 people in the whole town. Now there's a couple of 100,000. It's a bigger city, but everybody knew everybody. And my dad sold insurance, so all the cops knew my dad. So it was hard to get away with anything, but it's just fun. What's really funny is that he had his insurance office, and then he had the liquor store next to it. So so I didn't see the relationship between those two growing up, but
that's called business placement right there. Know your audience and put yourself as close to them as possible.
It was too funny. So I was raised in the insurance office. And then my mom, on the other hand, had movie theaters. And so she had a Spanish movie theater in McAllen, Texas called El Mexico. And she had an English movie theater in Mission, Texas called, actually, it was a drive-in theater,
Oh,
and
that's
called
awesome.
the Buckhorn. And then she had a Spanish and English movie theater called the Rex on downtown Mission. And so I was raised in movie theaters, swimming pools, liquor stores, and insurance office. So in my book, entrepreneurs were my heroes. I mean, they tried everything, they did everything, they accomplished everything. For his time and what he did, I came to realize that my dad was just extremely wise. He passed at a very early age. He was only 58 when he passed, but he was really someone that I looked. He was my best friend. And his name was Tony. So, and my name's Tony. And I was
So
supposed
like
to have been
father, like
Antonio.
daughter, literally.
Well, I can only aspire to. And what's funny is that I think back. I mean, I was 20 when he passed.
Hmm.
I remember leaving the church, Our Lady Guadalupe in Mission, Texas. I remember leaving the church and driving the 4.5 miles to the cemetery.
Hmm.
And I remember looking back from on in the limo, and I couldn't see the end of the cars. And when
Yeah,
people actually got to the cemetery, they were saying there's still cars at the church waiting to leave. And I thought
that's
to myself,
amazing.
uh, that was my dad. And I was very, very proud of him. And he was an incredibly he was way beyond his time, because he made me believe that I could do anything, I could be anything, and all I had to do was apply myself to it. And then the most impressive lesson that he ever taught me was, Tony, because he sold insurance, he says, when you're in a room talking to an immigrant or a farm worker or a truck driver, you talk like them, you act like them, you become part of their world. And when you're in another room talking to presidents and CEOs, and you become them, you act like them. So it was that chameleon capability that I believe he gave me, which is what has brought me to where I am now. And you've heard my story. I've dined with princes and I've danced with presidents, and I really have had quite a fabulous life. And it just happened based on the title of a book I'm going to write in 2020 called "You Never Know Who's Watching."
I love that title.
And
Yeah.
and that was and I give this as a gift to all the entrepreneurs who are listening to us, and all of the supermen and superwomen that are out there trying to do something different with their life, who have a movement, who have a mission, a vision, and a value that is driving them, the purpose driven kind of an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. Is you just got to keep trying to serve. It's not that we're trying to make a whole bunch of money off of this, and the money's going to come if you just focus and keep giving and giving and giving and giving and sharing. Have that servant mentality.
Yeah.
And that's really what happened to me when I had my computer company, and I had a computer training company, and we had a help desk. And this was back in the early or late 80s, early 90s, which is at the top of when Microsoft
Yeah.
kicked off. And I was very, very fortunate to have, I mean, literally my entire business ran off of a $27 a month Yellow Pages ad called the Computer Help Desk. That's all I could afford to put out there, because it was my startup company. And that little company in 18 months, was up to 60 employees, 17 contractors, and about $3 million. And
Wow.
it was just, we just caught it at the right time, the right swing, and all of that. But more important is I was constantly striving to provide the best service that I could, whether it was training or help desk or support or development. It was trying to make it work. And it was that attitude that the corporation that we were working in, which was on a month-to-month contract for 8 years at this corporation. Um, One day I got taken out to lunch and by the CTO, and he was a wonderful gentleman named Alberto Goudet. And he took me to lunch and he goes, Toni? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, I've been tasked with finding the perfect person who would be the best computer trainer in the United States. He says, and I've picked you. And I said, okay.
Right.
He was joking, right? And he says, how would you like to be the computer trainer and support person for President George H.W. Bush? He says, you need to bring him home. And this was, after he lost the election and he was coming back to Houston. And so I was put with the transition team to bring him home. My office was, across the hall from his office for months. I became close friends with the entire family, and I taught him, how to use Microsoft Word and how to get emails to happen and all this kind of stuff on his brand new compact laptop that he had at the time. And I mean, that's the kind of stuff that happens because you never know who's watching. It's not because you bought your position, and it's not because you got a lot of money, and it's not because you're now, the top Hispanic woman in business or whatever. It's because of the serving mentality that you have. It's what makes you stand up from the crowd. It's
Absolutely
something that you bring to the table that nobody else can.
Yeah. What I love within that is what you're talking about is valuing people above all other things. And that starts all the way from the chameleon effect that you're talking about with the lesson from your dad. It's about understanding who is it you're talking with and valuing what it is they want, what they're looking for, what they need first. And once you understand what it is they value, you can communicate with them effectively. This past year, one of the certifications that I went through is certified behavioral consultant. And that is that is number one lesson within behavioral consulting is understanding who is it you're talking to so that you can effectively communicate with them.
Yeah.
Then from there, it's not just about knowing what the value is, but living it day in and day out, not knowing what the result is, but continuing with it. It's part of the compound effect, right? When you think of, you can take whatever book you want to that talks about this, the one thing, as I drop stuff all over the place, the one thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. You've got the compound effect by Darren Hardy. You've got the slight edge by Jeff Olson. There's a bunch of other people who talk about this concept, but it's not about the big goal at the end of the day. You weren't looking to try and work with the president, right?
No. Yeah.
That wasn't your goal. Your goal was to live in your value and do the right thing each and every day. Yeah. And that compound effect of doing the right thing every single day, getting better every single day, doing what you needed to do to push your business forward, gave you the opportunity that you didn't even know was going to be there.
And that's exactly how it happened. So many of the things that we step up into our own leadership, into our own greatness, happens because you were willing to put that one foot in front of the other and try it. And by no means do most entrepreneurs know exactly what they're going to do tomorrow to make it work. They just need to finish what we're doing today.
Yeah, I know I don't.
Yeah. Well, we're in a position where oh God, and that's the crazy part is we see so many of the 2 Comma Club successful entrepreneurs in our world of speakers, authors, healers, and coaches, and you want to borrow what they're doing, and you want to hook on to their kite, and you want to, but the reality is if you keep doing that, you're going to keep spinning, because you have to find out who you are, what you've got to offer, and what you're bringing to the table first.
Absolutely.
The one thing, so to speak.
Yeah.
What is your one thing?
This is something within the entrepreneurial world that actually really, really bothers me, especially from the marketing perspective. If we take just the marketing perspective for a second, there are so many people who preach basically this message: if you do what I do, you'll have success. And so many people are not finding success doing that. And the reason is what worked for them doesn't necessarily work for you. You have to understand who you are, what your gifts are, what your strengths are. And then once you understand what those are, you can figure out how does that apply to the rest of the world. And how do I make that work for me? Not for them, for me. And that's the key at the end of the day, is you have to figure out how it works for you. And now you can take that concept, and it doesn't just apply to marketing, that applies to everything, especially leadership. You have to understand, what are your leadership qualities? This is something that I'm bothered with in the leadership world, is there's so many people that are like, if you do leadership like me, you'll succeed.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. You need to know how you lead.
Yeah.
What are your strengths? And once you understand that, you can take that. And there are some things that will apply no matter where it goes, like the chameleon effect that you were mentioning. That pretty much works for everybody. But there are still things that are you, that if you don't do those things, you're not going to succeed. And there are things that are not you that people will tell you are the quote unquote path to success. And as you try to do those things that are them and not you, it'll fail for you.
And it's so funny, you know, I talked a little bit about the movie theaters, and something that was inherent to my thought process was, I guess because being raised, you know, day after day after day, you know, 3 to 4 times the same movie per day that we, you know, you have a 2 or 3 day run. In my mind, we had 0 to resolution in 90 minutes, or there was something wrong with you.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're going to have a part 2, which I hated, you know, we had resolution in 90 minutes to all the world's problems. And that's, I laugh at it now, but that was really my thinking program, which ultimately helped me create a way of seeing things that was wonderful for when I was doing PowerPoint shows for my clients. Because I had the ability to power 3, 4 points, 2, 3 words per point, you know, is not to have death by PowerPoint, which I've seen so often,
all the time,
but to make what I call a haiku level of PowerPoint, where you don't, as a speaker, as an author, as a healer, and as a coach, you don't present the PowerPoint and then read line by line by line, you know, which is death by PowerPoint.
Yeah.
You present it so that it's an emotion. It's a photo of what you're trying to accomplish, and talk to that without using any words that you've got up on your slide. People can read the slide themselves if they're interested in what you're saying. If they're not, there's nothing you're going to be able to say or do to make them read that slide. And so if you're only giving them 4 words, or 4 bullets of 3 or 4 words each, you know, and then you expound on that, that's a much better presentation than that. And so a lot of people don't know that we were actively involved, my company, in the creation of PowerPoint. We were beta testing it here in Houston at one of my client sites. And we just the only thing that was around before PowerPoint was Harvard Graphics, and I had mastered that. And so when PowerPoint came in, it was like, oh my God, this is wonderful. You know, the GUI, you know, the graphical user interface was amazing. The WYSIWYG was amazing. What you see is what you get. And so once we started really playing with the power and potential of picture, emotion, and then you talk about it, picture, emotion, then you talk about it, that's where PowerPoint really just took off. I mean, immediately. And so that's why it was so important. I mean, that was why it was so instrumental to so many companies to encourage their executives to use it, because it sold ideas, it sold concepts.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that's another story to be told at some other time.
Well, and that's really interesting. Dive into that a little bit more for me, the idea of selling concepts.
Oh gosh, every single program that you develop, every single project that you've been involved with, they all started with a concept and an image in somebody's head. And that, you know, it's so funny. The year 2020, a friend of ours yesterday said that hindsight is 2020. So now we know what we've already done wrong. We don't have to repeat it this year, because now we have perfect vision. So take that as a springboard, right? And take off with it. But I really do feel that this is going to be an incredible year of clarity, for small business people, entrepreneurs, healers, speakers, authors, coaches who are looking for the one thing that they can sell that makes them who they are. And I do need to add at this point, Cody, with your
Yeah,
permission,
of course.
is the reason that I wrote the book, Act Two, Your Show Must Go On. Originally, the concept of it was to create a, a, a way of sharing with people who are thinking, especially baby boomers who are thinking of creating something that they can work in for the rest of their lives. I wanted to create it as if I was creating a movie. We have pre-production, production, and post-production, right? That's your movie. So the concept that you've got in your mind for whatever program you feel like selling, or you want to create to sell, or you think is needed, the concept and the idea comes in at the pitch level, right? Which is what your idea is.
Yeah. And
so
this doesn't just apply to entrepreneurs, right? This could
Oh,
be
no.
proposing a plan to someone in your company, or proposing a plan to your team. This idea can be applied anywhere.
When I started at Hewlett Packard as a contractor, I was the IT infrastructure project manager. And basically there was about 9 or 10 of us that were in that position around the world. And each one of us was given between 12 and sometimes even up to 18 projects at one time that we had to run simultaneously. And now, IT infrastructure means that you're either going to down a building or up a building, the whole building. Okay, so from every tiny input on phone and computers and communications and conference rooms, all of those had to be proposed as a concept to whether or not we were going to sell 10 buildings or create 10 buildings, to run the infrastructure of the entire corporation. At that time, the corporation had 500,000 employees. Okay, so just the idea of bringing up the concept. Do we want to close this building in Dallas because it's too close to the other one? You still have to propose it. And they did come in PowerPoint ideas and presentations. And if you're creating a program, it's a concept, it's an idea. For example, I'm working and have been working putting together a concept for a new program called The Celebrity Within. All right, The Celebrity Within, based on how many years I've been in production and casting, which is a whole nother line that we were going to
which we haven't talked about yet, but I want to talk about, definitely.
Based on that idea, to be real honest with you, the highest celebrities that I've met, that I've worked with, that I've shaken hands with, the bigger they are, the more approachable, humble, and just like you and me kind of person they are. And I mean, starting with President Bush, I mean, it was just amazing to see and to be with the ex-head of the CIA, one of the world leaders, one of the strongest world leaders, and to see the amount of kings and princes and the phone calls he had, were just at such an incredible level. For example, I'll give you one example.
Yeah, please.
I was working with him on his laptop one day, and he was asking me how to do certain things, and the phone rings. So basically, I'm like on one knee next to him, so we're looking at the keyboard. He picks up the phone and he goes, "Hey, Charlie, how are you? Hey, no, we're going to pick you up at the airport. When you coming in? Okay, great. Well, we got a barbecue, so you ready for that?" And I figured, you know what, this is a personal phone call. I need to get out of the room, And so I stand up, and he's talking to Charlie, and he's talking. They're making all these plans, and who's going to pick him up, where they're going to take him. And as I walk around his desk, he goes, "Toni, wait a minute. It's just Prince Charles."
It's just Prince Charles. No big deal. Like, okay, he's just royalty with one of our biggest allies. Like, no big deal. Whatever.
That's one of my favorite stories, because it was like he just had no idea what he had just said. It was just so down home for him, And and I've met some celebrities doing the Grammys, the Latin Grammys, the Texas Music Awards. I have met some celebrity or quasi-celebrities who have just been absolute jerks. And
Yeah.
there's better words for that, but I'm going to be civil. Yeah, I mean, for example, we had the A-listers. The A-listers all have to go in a limo picked up from, I don't care if the hotel is a block away from the red carpet. The A-listers we had to set up all the logistics to get the limos in time. Okay. The B and C listers, we had an indoor tunnel that they would walk and show up at the red carpet without the limo. They didn't want to do it. They wouldn't do it. So I had some that did, and you know what? I thanked them profusely. And these are major music groups that you've heard of. I'm not going to talk about who they were, but you can always tell who the jerks are, because it was like, I'm not walking a block. You get me a limo now. That kind of thing. So I guess you call them the new rich versus the old
the
rich.
nouveau riche.
Yeah. But I have met some celebrities, and the ones that I would like to fashion my clients after are the ones that are approachable, that have a servant mentality, that are keen to their goals, that know where they want to end up, because the end game is important.
Extremely.
Yeah, extremely important. I mean, when Rollins wrote the 7 Harry Potter books, she had the end game in mind the whole time. It's amazing to me how she did it, and I value what she did and how she did it, because it was creatively a work of absolute genius. But there is an end game in mind, and my end game is to have 100 clients that we are helping, that we're doing summits for, that we are doing publicity for, that I am doing I'm giving them the ability to know when they're camera ready, which is something I gave away for the holidays, is a virtual makeover between one camera and yours and mine, and I would show you where to put the highlighter and where to put the contours and where, just silly things like that. But
it's a major challenge. I mean, I have problems with that every single day, Toni. You don't even know.
I have to send you my new makeup artist. But no, it's very true. I mean, something as simple as that, for someone who's been a doctor all her life or a teacher all her life, this is a new world. This camera ready stuff, and for me, that was when in the production world and the casting world, that was just matter of fact. I mean, you either know that you have to come camera ready, or they're going to have a makeup artist and hair artist there. And for most of the small productions that we do in the state of Texas, you have to be camera ready, because there's very few union shows that come in that have their own hairdresser and makeup artist. And you have to qualify to get one of those. So being camera ready is just another way of saying come ready, as to shoot the moment you get there, which means powder and all. And so that was a giveaway that I wanted it to and it's a part of the program that I'm putting together called The Celebrity Within, which starts with inner thoughts, inner mindset, who you are, what you want to be, what your goal is, what your movement is, and then it through the year allows us to expound on that and expand your reach, so that whatever you're trying to achieve, for example, the legendary leadership that you've achieved last year, Cody, we're going to bring it back over and build on that, and build and build and build, because wow, I mean, just the guests that you had. By the way, I saw Steven on a Chase commercial.
Yeah. Steven Sashin. Steven Sashin he's one of my favorite people. He is kind of a nut, but he knows it and he loves it, and he totally embraces it.
He owns it.
Funny story. I saw him at the airport the other day. I went to why was I at the airport? Oh, I was getting ready to go do a certification. That's right. And so finish up one of my certifications, actually. It was a 10-month program, and that final piece was it. I went to the airport, and I had like an hour and a half before my flight, because security was like nothing that day for some reason. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go walking around. And I'm like, just minding my own business, walking around. And I see he's kind of got this like fro going on. I see his crazy fro out of the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, Steven! And he's like, you! And I was all like, what are you doing here? And he was in Austin for a convention, and I had no idea. And he was planning on just being in and out. Just
I
coming up
love
to the
it.
airport out of
Love it.
nowhere.
So you
I
guys,
love that guy.
when you see the Legendary Leadership Summit
Yeah.
commercials and promos and all that start, you cannot miss a Cody's show. It's coming up real soon, I hear, in the next 30 to 60 days.
Yes.
But we've got, every single part of the celebrity within package that I'm thinking it starts with getting you camera ready, then what's your purpose, mission, goals, vision, and then we lay it all out so that then you have so many weeks of promotion, so many weeks of doing it, whether it's a webinar or a seminar or a one-day conference or a 3-day live event, something's going to lead to that summit, which eventually is going to turn into your TV show. And so 1, 2, 3, and 4, those 4 pieces go all together in 1 year, and you are the celebrity because it's massive promotion. That's what we're trying to achieve for you. That's what we're trying to get you ready for. And at the same time, I want to keep the mindset of the celebrity approachable, reachable, human, with humility and with a servant mentality. And if our celebrities or my clients can do that, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be an amazing year.
Absolutely.
So,
one of the things that I think is really important in there is having the end in mind.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about the 1 year end in mind. This is something that I think is actually extremely important. You have to be looking at the 10, 20, 30-year plan in mind of where you want things to go. Because what you can accomplish a lot in 1 year, but that can be a positive or a negative. Because if you don't know that 10-year, 20-year, 30-year plan of where you want things to go, and you get a lot accomplished in 1 year, you could get a lot accomplished in the wrong direction.
That's very true.
It's kind of like, I want to travel, right? And so it's like I just start driving, and then as I'm driving, I decide all of a sudden I want to go to Maine. And I started in Texas, but I'm headed towards California. And now I'm further away from Maine than I'd like to be. Where if I would have just stayed in Texas, made the decision of where I'm traveling to first, and then started traveling there, I'd make it there a lot faster.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's funny, it's funny you say that because I guess at my age, I'm, at 10 years is about all I'm going to plan forward.
Toni, the way technology is going, the way you live your life, all that, you're going to live to be in your triple digits. So.
Oh my God. Oh, wow. And
I believe.
I was doing some marketing for a life insurance company a couple of years ago. And one of the slides that we put together was a slide of a baby. And it was actually the cover of Time magazine. And it said, this baby, it can't live to be 140 years old. And it's just so funny because when you really think about it, now that we're talking about this, when the Social Security system was put into place, all right, people were going to live to 65. And that was pretty much, you're going to retire at 65, you're going to probably live, and your lifespan was between 65 and 68 years old. People were not expected to be in the 70s and 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And so, and this was in the 50s, okay, 40s and 50s. By the 60s, we were now in the 75-year time lifespan. In the 70s, we hit the 80 and 85 and 88 lifespan. In the 90s, you see where I'm going?
Yeah.
So if from the 40s to the year 2000, we added 40 years of life, that baby born this year could very possibly hit 120, 140 years old.
Yeah.
If the lifespan's like that, because we're adding 20 years to our lifespan every 10 years.
Yeah. One of my personal goals is, right now at least, unless technology goes even further than I think it's going to go, but one of my goals is to hit 125. That's one of my life goals, is to hit 125 years old.
You can carry 100
I think it's
pound
possible.
rocks. I'm going to worry about it. Wow, well, I hadn't even thought. So basically, you're saying I'm middle-aged. I love it.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I'm saying, Toni. But there are so many people that I talk to, and they're all like, I'm old. I'm like, are you kidding me? Unless you're like 80, 90 now.
Yeah.
And I even argue there sometimes, because there are some 80, 90-year-olds who are not old
That are
at
climbing
all.
Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, that are literally climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. She's not dying anytime soon, unless
No.
there's a freak accident, which God forbid, right? Knock on
Yeah.
wood that's not going to happen. But like, our lifespans are a lot longer than we give credit to. And it's like, you are not old. You're not old. So stop saying it. Start living.
Makes sense. All right. So let me put together at least a 10 to 20-year goal. Here we go.
Toni, you could still do a 30-year goal. You could still do a 30-year goal. I'm telling you that right now. You could.
All right. You know what? You're changing my mind very quickly here. So what else would you like to hear about? I played on television.
We got the George H.W. Bush.
Yeah.
Nonchalantly talking about Prince Charles, like, no big deal, whatever. Right? Like, okay, whatever, royalty, no big deal.
That was
so you went from there somehow into celebrities, right?
Yeah.
What is that transition for you?
The transition was that there are things that we carry, every single one of us carries, that makes us a celebrity. And it's so funny because we think of people that get recognized all over the world, because they're singers or actors, or big sports figures.
Mm-hmm.
But every single one of us has that gene, and we can bring it out. We just need to find out. We're just going to play with you a little bit and find out what it is that makes you different from everybody else, and then we expound on that. One of the fastest ways, if you're already in business, for example, or you're already a mentor, the reason that I even brought all that up, by the way, and let me just retract just a little bit, is because on the book Act 2, here's what's happening in the United States at this moment. At this moment, there's 45 to 48 million baby boomers who have been laid off, fired, and separated from their jobs.
Yeah.
We have been, ousted, or and the majority of us were not ready to retire.
Yeah.
All right. What's happening is that the numbers in the next 6 to 7 years are going to go from 45 to 68 million baby boomers who are fired, laid off, and separated from their jobs. So we have basically 4 choices. Number 1 is redo your resume and see if anybody else wants you. Okay.
Which is incredibly hard to do. I actually, Lorianne Vaughn Speaks, I've had her on my podcast talk about that, how it's actually really difficult for anyone over the age of 55 to 60 to find a new job. Because sadly, and I think this is incredibly detrimental to businesses in general, but they think that's too old. And that makes me a little bit sick to my stomach, to be honest, that people think that.
Yeah. No, that's true. We're too old and too expensive. Yeah. And it's so funny because, literally, I went from, an almost $200,000 position, and in order to get hired, I took a $15 an hour job as a project manager, and within 8 months, I was back up to the 100,000 because I proved my value.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of energy. That's a lot of work. But I did get a job, and I didn't last in it very long because it was just not there. But okay, so that's number 1. That's your choice as a baby boomer who is experiencing this right now. Number 2 is oh my gosh, let's see, I get attacked by at least probably 8 emails per week from franchise companies who want me to buy a franchise because I'm a perfect fit thanks to LinkedIn. So I could have a lube company, I could have a coffee shop, I could have a fix your garage organizing shop. It's just incredible. The problem with franchises is that they will finance you, but you put up your 401k as your equity. All right. So if anything, and this is a real problem, and I'm going to do a little bit more research on it, but right now in the franchise world, there is a movement happening that the baby boomers are causing. And the problem is, when you buy a franchise, you buy like the primary, secondary, and tertiary area around your business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're buying that neighborhood, and you're buying that one case of having that one shop, unless it's Starbucks, right there.
Yeah.
And so what is happening then is they promise their 401k against the franchise, and then one of them gets sick and they can't do a thing. They can't do anything with that franchise because they have to go take care of the problem, and they can't start. Starting a new company is like having a new
challenging.
Baby. It's a baby.
Challenging.
You're going to
literally
work. You're going to be up all night. You're going to work. You're going to work.
Actually, the government recognizes businesses as individuals, so you're literally creating an individual according to the government.
It's a baby. And if somebody gets sick, like my husband or myself gets sick, you can't go run the franchise. Yeah. So we've got all of these stagnant franchises sitting there without being able to grow. It has a 401k encumbered against it. So, I mean, you're up the creek. So that's step one, was go get a job. Step two is buy a franchise, and buyer beware. Caveat emptor. Okay. Number three is become a mentor. And I mean, we're seeing this with the CEO space. We're seeing this with so many silver foxes. There's so many nice, cool mentorship programs. The Forbes Coaches Council is a wonderful mentorship program. What we're seeing is I do get asked almost weekly is, I'd love to be a mentor. How do I do it? Which is why I started the television show and radio show and podcast called The World Class Mentors. It's because we deep dive into what it takes to be a mentor and how they changed my world class mentors, their lives. I call it, you dance with the one who brung you. Who were their mentors? Mm-hmm. See, and what did they do to change their life? Yeah. And so now that we have an understanding of what mentors do, now you can try to go do something with that, which is where a lot of our speakers and coaches and healers are coming from, right? And authors, they're becoming mentors. But the last one is the one I really push in the book as well as in my public speaking, is I want them to become an entrepreneur. That's where I feel if you're gonna work yourself to death, do it for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No.
Do it for you. And I mean, you set your ceilings, you set your time, you set your hours, you have a company. We can help you create it. We can help you put it in procedure. We can help you create your business plan, your marketing plan, your social media plan, what it takes to get there. Now you're talking about working on something that's going to make money for you. And so the hardest part about that is creating the programs and the projects that yield money.
Yeah. And you know how they say things run in cycles?
Yeah.
I think we're about to hit, or we're in the midst of hitting part of the return of a cycle, because before the 1800s, basically everything was entrepreneurship, right? You had entrepreneurs, and then you had apprentices who trained under those entrepreneurs. And then around the 1800s time period, you started to get massive companies that started to form, and they have become basically mega corporations over time. It was the factory lifestyle, but it's become mega corporations today. And the thing is, mega corporations move extremely slowly. They can't move fast. It's just not possible. There's too much politics that happens within it. And so what I'm starting to see, and what I think is really going to be taking off here, is entrepreneurs, because that's where all the things start to begin to change quickly. That's where you need people to go to. That's where innovation happens. And it's here right now, the opportunity to be at the front end of that cycle. Because these mega corporations, we're seeing them fail all over the place. Whether it's because they're too big, whether it's because they're corrupt, whether it's because they started doing business a certain way and it's a questionable morality. I don't have to pinpoint any specific organizations on that. I'm sure you can think of some specific ones with, like blue logos, but that's what we're kind of in the midst of today, is this return to that entrepreneurial area, I think.
I agree with you. And with the amount of baby boomers that are out there with years of experience, with what they can offer, with what they have to offer,
Which is so much.
That's the true value of what's inside you that makes it that way. The crazy part is that I have seen, number one, out of all the speakers, authors, healers, coaches that are on the stage speaking, only 2% are women, and less than 1% are minorities.
That
out
mystifies
of everybody who's out there speaking. So number one, girls, we got to catch up.
Please.
We have so many stories. There's so
Please,
much
yeah.
to offer, not only in business, but in our life. Just sharing our stories makes it really valuable to some others.
Yeah.
One of my mentors said something one time that I absolutely love. He says, you cannot say the wrong thing to the right person. So, what I have discovered over the past couple of years of marketing, even though I've been in marketing all my life, is that marketing, true marketing, effective marketing, planned marketing is the way to eliminate those that don't belong to you. That's what real successful marketing does. It gets people away from the ones who are supposed to be true to you and your true clients. And those are the ones that are, if I've said something right today, I'm going to bring the right client in. If I've said something wrong today, you're not my client. It's okay. Next.
Yeah. And I think that's so incredibly important, not just from a marketing perspective, but from an organizational perspective too, is there are people who are the right crowd, whether it's a customer, whether it's person on your team, it doesn't matter. And there are people who are the wrong customer person on your team. Yeah. And that is a natural part of things. One of the things that I talk about a lot is values. You have to understand what your values are. You have to understand what your business's values are. And it's incredibly important because it's not going to be the same from yourself and your business to another person or their business. And if you don't know what they are for you, you're going to bring on people whose values don't align. And it's going to create destruction within your own company. Right. Within your own organization. But if you understand those values, you're going to attract the right people and you're going to repel the wrong people. And that's okay. That's what you want. You need the right people. And the same thing happens in businesses, because the right people are going to pay a lot of money, and it's going to cost you much less to get them to pay a lot more than if you try to get everybody to like your organization. Because you're going to have to spend a lot of money to get the people who aren't really aligned with you to get on board with you. And then they're not online with you. They're not in line with you anyways. So it's just going to be constantly spending tons of money that's just going out the window and not really serving you. Exactly.
So, and it's so funny. Yesterday we talked about the actual business plan, and everybody's business plan, especially for 2020, has to have various levels of input. Where are you getting your leads from, your prospects from, your clients from? Yeah. And our world has changed so much over the past 10 years. I mean, it's gone from cold calling to now interactive social media, with LinkedIn on the professional side, with Facebook on the familiar side, with Instagram on the fast side, Pinterest on the photo side. Yeah. So.
Well, and then you've got, from the video side, you have YouTube, but then if you want to connect with the younger generation, it's TikTok.
Yes, exactly. So, and there's different things every year. I mean, I remember being at the CES with the year that Snapchat got bought out. And I mean, that was huge. And I was barely understanding what it was, much less, why their entire logo filled the pyramid on the outside at the Luxor. And I mean, that was the big news. I mean, they got it bought out for mega billions, right?
Yeah.
So this is the world is ever growing, ever changing. And to tell you the truth, I find that incredibly sexy. I love the fact that, and I should say, thanks to Microsoft, I learned that even when you thought you had mastered the program, whatever it was, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, every 18 months they would change it and bring
Yeah.
new stuff in. And I was like, oh God, after 6 years of every 18 months changing my programs, I was like, I'm ready to shoot somebody. Because I have, I was Word certified, I was Excel certified, I was a Microsoft certified professional, and Microsoft certified trainer. But every 18 months they have a new program, so it does keep you young. It really
Yeah.
does, because you have to constantly be learning. And I love that. As a baby boomer, I absolutely love that, because I don't get tired. As a matter of fact, I think I like saying that my team hates it when I get bored, because I'll walk in with 18 new projects on Monday, and they're like, "Where did this come from?"
Absolutely. And it's one of those things where there's no such thing as stagnation, right? There's no such thing as this point where everything stays still. Things are either
Yeah.
growing or they're decaying. Those are
Yeah.
the only two options.
Yeah.
And I think it's really sad when people choose to decay. And that happens a lot. And as people get older, they choose to decay when they have so much more potential. I mean, just us talking, you were thinking only 10 years, right? Like that could be it. But really, you could have another 30 years going for you. And you could create so much more in 30 years. And it's completely possible, right?
Yeah.
But there are
You're my
people,
inspiration, Cody.
there are people who are younger than you who aren't even thinking a year ahead.
Oh my goodness.
They're
Yeah.
already decaying. There are
Yeah.
people my age who are decaying, and I'm fairly young. And it's so sad to watch that potential go out the door. And really, when you start embracing the change, when you start embracing opportunity, because the world is filled with opportunity, there's so much opportunity in the world, and you start embracing that, it's exciting, it's fun, and you start growing with it, and your prospects grow with it. It's amazing.
I love it. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, Cody. Thank you so much for the opportunity, first of all, and for the friendship, second of all.
Oh, I'm the one who's appreciative. You are always wonderful. You're always amazing. Your amount of knowledge, I mean, I don't even know how long we've been recording right now because I stopped paying attention. I don't know when we started, to be completely honest. But what I know is we've only scratched the surface of everything that you've got a hold of, everything that you've been through. And we've already talked about so much. I'm honored to be speaking with you right now.
Oh, thank you, Cody. Next time we'll talk about Disney and Scooby-Doo and all the other fun I had.
Disney and Scooby-Doo, both things I thoroughly enjoy. So I'm looking forward to that. Toni, if people are looking to get a hold of you, tell me, what are the best ways for them to get a hold of you?
It's very simple. I mean, it's Toni, T-O-N-I. At my company is K like in kilo, D like in David, D like in David, M like in Mary, inc.com. It's Kaufman Design Development Marketing Incorporated.com. And you can also get a hold of me at ToniKaufman.com. And that's Kaufman, one F, one N. But I look forward. Probably the fastest and most fun thing you can do is get on your phone and text to the number 474747. Just text the word Toni, T-O-N-I, and you'll get my business card in. So text the word Toni, T-O-N-I, to 474747.
Awesome, Toni. If you don't know Toni, you want to get to know Toni because she's absolutely amazing. I have so much fun with her. KDDM Inc. actually helps sponsor this show, so I'm incredibly honored to be in partnership with you and to just have you as a friend and all that fun stuff. So thank you so
Well,
much,
you
Toni.
know the old saying, you what is it? You are a diamond in the rough, but you're getting awfully smooth real fast, Cody.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I like to believe I'm a diamond, so yes, I'll take it.
All right, so as a final note,
Yeah.
you see my collection of ships that I'm very, very proud of.
Yes.
And because of my hero, Princess Leia, this is actually her ship.
Yep. The Tantive 4.
Yes,
Yep, I know it very well.
So it's right there. This is her ship. So you got to go see the movie because I was in tears. Take your Kleenex box with you if you're a Princess Leia fan.
If you're a Leia fan, there's a good chance you'll cry.
Oh my gosh! And my sons were with me when we went to see the movie, and they said every time I would see someone come up that I wasn't expecting, it was like, oh my god. So,
the nostalgia factor was huge in the movie. Absolutely. Yeah. We're talking about Star Wars Episode 9 for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, gotta go see it. And on the other hand, we've got the Galaxy Quest.
Oh my gosh. So that movie is so underrated. I'm just throwing that out there real quick. That movie is a masterpiece with Tim Allen. Have
you ever see the bloopers on YouTube where the cast from Next Generation and Shatner were all watching the movie dying laughing?
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So for anyone who doesn't know what Galaxy Quest is, this movie is like the perfect homage to Star Trek. It basically takes the best parts of Star Trek and they make incredible fun of Star Trek while still making an incredible movie about making fun of Star Trek.
And the cast was just dying laughing. Like when they tell Tim Allen, well, you finally figured out a way to take your shirt off, directly pointed at Shatner, right?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
This is, I guess, the most gorgeous, the Klingon bird of prey. Is that amazing?
Oh, that is absolutely beautiful ship.
So anyway, there's my collection. I'm playing with putting them up. We're going to have to do some changes for 2020, so we may have an entire ship collection here.
Hey, that's okay. That means, I think, very under the table, what you're telling me is I need to find some sort of ship to get a hold of you, to give to you. So it's okay. I understood. Wink.
Well, you know what? You've earned every single document behind you, and you've worked for it, and you've studied. And I love, by the way, you're talking. If you guys haven't heard the life and death talk that Cody has, you've got to hear it. It's probably one of the best, actually one of the best recordings I've ever done or heard. And your wisdom is so beyond your age. It's just funny. I just love it. So you're an old soul, Mr. Cody.
I've been told that, but I mean that's all because of incredible mentors that I've had in my life. And you talked about your show, which I've had the honor to be on and to honor my mentors on that show. And since then, you've been a mentor in my life as well. So I've been incredibly honored to have you as well, Toni.
We got nowhere to go but up, kiddo.
Amen to that.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Cody.
Thank you, Toni.
God bless.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Leadership Guide. Please make sure to go onto your favorite player of choice and there rate the show, then subscribe so that you don't miss any future episodes. Then, if you truly want to be a legendary leader, share this episode with someone that you know will be impacted, because legendary leaders fuel not only themselves, but others as well to their heroic potential. If you want to unlock your heroic potential faster, then you will want to join the League of Legendary Leaders, an association of leaders who are dedicated to unlocking their heroic potential, unlocking the heroic potential of others, and where legendary leaders are born. The League of Legendary Leaders also has a goal to raise $100,000 monthly to support nonprofits that are actively undertaking causes to impact the future in areas including homelessness, neurodiversity, character strength, positive psychological research, and more. Seize the call now. Go to www.theleadership.guide and click Get Free Guidance Now to propel you on your journey to legendary leadership. I'm your host, Cody Dakota, and I'm honored to have spent this time with you today. My final message for you, and listen closely. It's time. Wake up your heroic potential. Let go of your fears and anxieties, and let's discover what is possible on your journey to become a legendary leader. Emerge and become who you were meant to be.